Nothing was wrong. That was the problem. There was no argument that lingered in the air, no moment that demanded a response, no clear sign that something had ended. Everything still worked. It still made sense. So they stayed. At first, staying didn't feel like a decision. It felt like the absence of one. Leaving would have required an explanation. Staying required nothing at all. No one asked why they were still there. No one questioned it. And when a choice doesn't need defending, it rarely feels like a choice. There were reasons, of course, there always are. It was familiar. It was manageable. It wasn't bad enough to justify disruption. Other people had bigger problems. Other lives were harder. This one felt acceptable. They told themselves they were being patient, practical, realistic. Change felt unnecessary, even indulgent. Why disturb something that hadn't clearly failed? Time passed quietly. Days didn't stand out. They stacked neatly on top of one another. Weeks blurred into routines. Routines blurred into habits. Nothing shifted suddenly. There was no before and after, just a long middle. Every now and then, a thought appeared. Not loud, not urgent, just a small awareness that something else might exist, but it never stayed long enough to matter. There was always tomorrow, always later, always another reason to wait. Her staying felt responsible. It didn't disappoint anyone. It didn't cause friction. It didn't require courage. Leaving, on the other hand, felt dramatic. Too much effort for something that wasn't clearly broken. So they stayed, again and again. Over time, staying stopped feeling temporary, not because anything changed, but because nothing did. The idea of leaving became abstract, something they talked about vaguely, something that belonged to a different version of themselves. There were moments when they noticed the narrowing, not panic, not regret, just the quiet sense that certain doors were harder to imagine opening. Options they once assumed would always be there now felt distant, still possible, but less likely. Nothing had gone wrong. No mistake could be pointed to. No single decision explained the outcome. That made it harder to name. They weren't unhappy. They just weren't moving. Years can pass this way, without conflict, without collapse, without anything that demands attention. Life continues. It simply doesn't expand. The realization didn't arrive dramatically. It came slowly, in the way they spoke about the future, in how rarely they imagined it, in how much effort it took to picture something different. Staying had shaped the outcome, not because it was chosen, but because it was repeated. Nothing was wrong enough to leave, but nothing was strong enough to keep growing either. This story isn't about regret. It's about defaults, about what happens when decisions are postponed long enough to become permanent. Because staying is still a choice, even when it doesn't feel like one. And sometimes the most unexpected outcomes come from the moments where nothing seemed wrong at all.